Recovering after being injured on the job yesterday. Fire crews were called after a resident discovered fire on the backside of their home near 65th and Grant. It's a block north of Blondo. The fire had extended to the exterior into the roof and then into the home. Took a little over 20 minutes before the fire was under control. One firefighter suffered what's described as a fire ground injury. Was transported to the hospital. Damage to the house estimated at $70,000. And the cause accidental due to discarded smoking materials.